Hey guys, welcome to the SRS Files podcast. Hope everyone had a great week or is having a great week. We got a great episode this week. We have a guest. Her name is Brooke. She was in Sorensons Ranch in the 80s. So quite interesting to talk with someone who was there around the year I was born and is still going through the trauma today. So I think she said something about 37 years since she left there. And how crazy is it that just a few years of your life can be so traumatizing? It just goes to show how effed up and messed up this place is. And yeah, I've spoken to people from the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and more recent, and it's always the same story, a little bit different, a little bit worse, whatnot. And yeah, so that being said, we got a great episode. Looking forward to hear some feedback and hear what everybody thinks, as well as I said in the last episode, if you guys want to send an anonymous letter to the email down below, I will leave the email address for you guys, and I will gladly read your statement/letter on the letters segment. And you can be on the podcast without having your face on there and all that. So there's always that option. And let's get into it. Got a great show, and we'll see you guys at the end of the episode. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the SRS Files podcast, last institutionalized. We got a great episode for you today. We got our guest, Brooke, who attended Sorensons Ranch from 1984 to 1986 for 2 years. And why don't you start off by telling us who you are and what you do?
Okay, so my name is Brooke, and when I was at Sorensons, my name was Brooke Lacoste, and I am in management at the store I work at, and I have 4 kids, and 3 of them are at home. And then I am a ministry leader at my church for a group called Celebrate Recovery, working on hurts, hangups, and habits, any kind of pain. Yeah.
That's awesome to hear that you're working within the recovery kind of side of things, and especially from the experience that we're probably going to hear, and I'm excited to hear your story. Probably is a good idea, and it's probably great the people that you'll be able to help with the experiences that you've been through.
Definitely.
So let's get this started. I'm really excited to hear some stories. I always like to start off my episode with the pickup. Now, did you have a pickup then?
Oh yeah, I had a really it's weird that it's been 37 years, but I remember it like it was yesterday. I mean,
let's hear it from the most detail you want. We have no time.
Okay, we have no time. Okay, so I well, let me just start off so I was a runaway. I ran away from home because I was sexually assaulted by somebody I thought was my dad. Considered it to be my dad. He was a family member, and after he sexually assaulted me, I was 12 when that happened, and I mean, it kind of made me feel crazy, and I kept running away and hitchhiking and putting myself in like lots of really dangerous situations, and I ended up in the hospital and with one of the situations I put myself in. And
why were you in the hospital?
I stripped, getting drunk, stripped, and this is, when I'm 12 years old, stripped, got drunk, and I woke up in my own vomit, and I had scratches all over my entire body. And I got in the bathtub, and I swelled like a balloon, like my whole body was swollen. And so they took me to the hospital, and apparently I don't know if I was allergic to poison ivy or what, but I had rolled in sticker bushes. And so, so that's what happened to me. And then my mom got the bill. She lived about 80 miles away. I had hitchhiked, and I was staying in a town where my dad lived nearby. And I ran into some people that I was living with 2 girls and an old man at the time. And so I was living in
just random people you met on your journey.
Yeah. And
okay.
so I was pretty much just putting myself in some very, very dangerous situations. And it's pretty scary probably. And then when my mom got the bill and she asked me what happened or whatever, because I talked to her on the phone or whatever, and I told her, I wasn't like afraid to tell her, because I was still angry with her for not protecting me and for not doing anything about what happened to me. And so, I was pretty resentful. And so I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And so then we'll talk about the pickup. So it was like 5:30 in the morning, and there was a knock at the door, and I was like, oh, that's crazy, who's knocking at the door at 5:30 in the morning? And it was a loud knock. And so when we answered the door, there were two people that just kind of came right in. I mean, one really big dude and one smaller woman. And then right behind him is my mom and my uncle who lives in LA, which is, quite a ways away. And so the first thing they did was they ripped the phone cords out of the walls, and they pretty much just tackled me and took me by force and like restrained me and shoved me into a car. I mean, I was being kidnapped, literally kidnapped. And
did you know what was going on?
Oh no, I didn't even know they knew exactly where I was. I don't even know how they knew where I was. I mean, so for this to happen, it was like huge shock. It was like, whoa. And I'm pretty sure the people there were pretty freaked out too, because they probably had no clue what was going on either. And they went down
What
about
people,
a couple miles.
like your parents?
No, the people that I was staying with two girls and an old man. And like when I say old man, like he was like a grandpa style.
Okay, so you weren't at home. They picked you up from the place that you met the people on your journey.
Yeah.
That we just discussed. Okay, yeah. Okay, got you.
Sorry about that. Yeah. And then so yeah, that's the door they knocked on, and that's where they took me from. And
they're just like, what the F is going on here?
Oh yeah,
who are these people? But your parents are there, so they kind of were like, okay, so something is going on, but like her parents are there, so they must be okay.
It was pretty terrifying. And so yeah, I mean, I don't think these people were actually good people that I was with. I don't really.
Did they hurt you?
No, they didn't hurt me. No, but I just don't think the environment was good. I think we were kind of like living a party lifestyle.
But they use excessive force. No, not the people you live with, the people that picked you up. Did they hurt you?
Oh, they didn't hurt me. I don't think they really hurt me, but I was kind of like, I would describe myself like a feral cat. I was pretty vicious. I was pretty scared. So anyways, they took me down the street, and then they switched cars, and my mom and my uncle got into another car, or vice versa. Either way, I left with two strangers, right? And they had me in the backseat of a car. And all I was wearing was a nightgown and a robe. And it was I remember very specifically, it was a Kristen Dior robe and a nightgown. And they left and they took me, and I was with these two strangers, and it was terrifying.
They couldn't bring you any clothes? They didn't have any shoes?
They didn't, no shoes, no clothes, no nothing. That was it. And it was scary. And I remember there being a pop bottle on the ground, and I remember thinking on the floorboard of the car, I remember thinking, I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to hit them over the head. I was like, Oh,
a glass one.
Yeah, a glass one. And I remember thinking that. Obviously, I never acted on it. I mean, the guy was really big. His name was Lee. And I vaguely remember him, but I remember he was huge, really big, like overweight and big guy, really tall. And then the woman was pretty small. I don't remember her name. So that was a pickup. And then they drove all the way to Utah.
From where? Where were you living?
Oregon.
Okay. You might have said that, but I didn't catch it.
Yeah. No, it's a long ways.
Yeah.
And I don't really remember all the drive there. I do remember stopping at gas stations and stuff like that.
So yeah, it's probably hard to remember that long ago. But you do remember the traumatic part. You remember little stopping off, like you said, little places. Now, do you remember them telling you where you're going, like anything?
Nope, I don't remember any of that part.
Okay.
I do remember stopping somewhere and then finally getting something to wear.
Okay.
I vaguely remember that.
Okay. So pick up. So it's very traumatic. Finally get to the ranch. What do you remember about your first impression of the ranch?
I just remember it being very, like, there was tumbleweed everywhere, like the bushes, the tumbleweed, and just very dry and like, where the hell was I kind of thing. Like it was it, you know,
What did it look like? What, like, can you explain?
yeah, it was just like a bunch of flat, but like not really all flat land, but like just really deserty, like in the middle of absolute nowhere. Like there was like nothing around. I mean, as far as I could tell. And it was pretty scary. And the big sign that said Sorensons Ranch
Sorensons.
here. And
Yeah.
then we just kind of drove in and then I remember the lodge was there. The boys were on this side, the girls were on this side, and I was pretty crazy for the first week or two. Like they put me up in the room, and I don't remember ever going to the lodge, but I remember being in the room, and I remember just every time they brought me food, I would like throw it, and I was kind of crazy. I was scared. I remember that.
Would you get in trouble for doing that?
Yeah. Well, that lasted for about a week or maybe even 2 weeks. I'm not sure, but I was bound to get out of there. That's, I was determined to get out of there. So
when you first got there, did you think I was going to be here for 2 years, or what was your?
No, I had no idea. I was like, where am I? Kind of like, it was terrifying. And I just remember it being really scary and not having anybody that I knew around me, and just being surrounded by people that I didn't know. And it was just really scary.
Was it on a level system like it is now?
So that's the funny thing is I don't remember a level system or anything like that.
Wow.
I do remember after the first 1 or 2 weeks, they sent me on a survival course, and I think it was in Idaho. And
they sent you to Idaho?
On a survival course, and I'm pretty sure it was in Idaho. And
so for people who are listening, survival courses are pretty brutal. You're out in the woods by yourself, learning how to survive with little food, it was pretty bare bones, and it's tough. It's like extreme survivor or something,
I'd love to tell you about the survival.
Yeah, tell me.
Okay, so I remember there were kids there, not just from Sorensons Ranch. It was just me from Sorensons Ranch, but there were other kids there that came from other places all over, and it must have been summertime, because I just remember hiking. We'd hike like 10 miles a day, and for food, I mean, we ate things like stinging nettles, like bushes. And
you ate bushes?
Yeah, stinging nettles. I remember that very specifically, eating stinging nettles. And I remember them catching a snake and like peeling the snake out of the skin, and then taking little twigs and putting all the way down its skin. You know what I'm talking about? Like to stretch the skin.
So you ate snakes?
I don't think I ate it. I think that but and I remember there was only one good thing you ate on the whole entire 3 weeks, and that was 1 can of peaches, and that being like really, really super good. And so I remember that really well. And then the worst part of this whole trip, right? Like, hiking to 10 miles every day, whatever, all that stuff, whatever. But for 3 days you had to do something called and it was terrifying. So I remember not moving off my
I'm
blanket.
totally losing you here.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, let it catch up for a sec, and then I got to the point where you said for 3 days they something.
Yeah, 3 days. We did something called solo.
Okay.
Solo, where you were all by yourself for 3 nights. And that was really scary for me.
Yeah, I bet. But what did they like? What did they give you for those solo nights to eat?
I don't remember that part. I remember not wanting to move off the blanket because I was scared of snakes, and I was just scared to be by myself. And
what about bathroom? Did they give you toilet paper?
I don't remember that either. I don't ever remember toilet paper. No.
Okay, so I'm just curious, because I feel like there's stories I've heard where they don't get toilet paper, and you're out in the middle of the woods with sagebrush. There's no leaves really, so you're actually wiping your butt with rocks.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Probably Leafs. Yeah.
Wow, this connection is horrible. That's okay. We're gonna get through it.
Holes, right? And then putting rocks in the hole. How about now?
Yeah, it's getting better.
It's getting better. Sorry.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. Yeah, we'll suffer a bit, but it's okay. We'll get through it.
We'll get through it. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So should I slow down when I'm?
Yeah, maybe go back like a little bit. What with? I think I ended when I was talking about the rocks, wiping your butt with rocks. I lost you
Yeah.
there.
So I don't remember there being toilet paper or anything like that. I don't really remember there being any food except the peaches, and I don't remember anything else as far as the food goes. I just remember the peaches being the only thing that was like normal to eat. I remember boiling the stinging nettles, which is like a bush. And I remember digging a hole and putting rocks in it, building a fire over it. And then the fire heats the rocks and then burying it back up and then sleeping on top of it to keep warm.
Huh.
Little things like that I remember. Like most of it, it was a pretty traumatic experience. But then the really the way worst part of it is right at the end after the solo, all of these kids were running in to meet their parents, right? Thinking, oh, they're going home or whatever. And here I am, like ready to like go and meet my family or whatever. And there was nobody there for me except the people from Sorensons Ranch. Yeah. Oh
Fuck
my gosh.
me.
It was the biggest like heartbreaker
Letdown.
ever.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like all these people are like hugging their parents. And I mean, I just remember
people don't realize that how traumatic that can be. After 37 years, you're still probably feeling a lot of abandonment and pain from that experience.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was
it doesn't, like, you can never understand that from hearing the story, but believe me, I understand from being at Sorenson's for only 1 year, a little bit over, that I could contest to that feeling, and I could understand how harsh that must have been for you.
It was very sad.
So that's just when you get to Sorenson's, you have to do the survival for 3 weeks. They kind of break you and then they bring you back to
Sorenson's. And then they bring you back and it helps you appreciate what you have there.
Do you think maybe you could quickly run me through a regular basic day at Sorensons Ranch School?
Kind of, yeah. So every morning, like the routine was Bernell Sorensen, he would come in, he would say, rise and shine, it's Utah time, eggs, bacon, toast, and drinks. And then he'd say something like aerobics, right? And like
that doesn't sound too bad.
That happened every morning. Yeah, I just remember it so well. I mean, he would come in chanting that every morning, and aerobics, and yeah, and so yeah, and I remember them always having cocoa. Like cocoa is always available, I think, and I don't really remember the food or the, I do remember. I remember the chores, but I don't really remember the food.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
So you wake up, you woken up.
You do your aerobics, and then
you do your aerobics after you eat. What kind of aerobics? Like is it a workout or aerobics? I don't understand.
Well, I think it's like a workout, but I remember it being called aerobics, and so
what was that like?
And I don't remember. I just remember being told that that's what we're going to do, and I don't actually remember physically doing them, but I'm sure.
That's okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's a long time ago. So, but I just remember the chanting of him saying that every morning, and we'd eat breakfast. We'd do that, and then the schooling. It was Brigham Young University's home study programs or whatever, and all I remember is like a book and absolutely no education. And I remember when I left there, I was so out there, like I didn't even know who the president was. Like I just felt so disconnected. So I mean, like it was like it was almost like I didn't go to any kind of schooling, or I had no connection to the outside
Like you were
world.
living in like under a rock sort of
Yes,
thing.
under a rock. Yes, yes. It was scary. And I don't remember learning anything there, not anything. And I
So
remember just
you,
feeling really dumb when I got out.
yeah, I've heard that a lot too, but not from the 80s, so I'm surprised to hear it's always been like that. And yeah, it's the
Yeah.
homeschooling, they kind of rush you to graduate. If you want, you can graduate, which is great, but you're not really learning.
Now I don't remember anything about people graduating or anything like that. So
Oh,
I
really?
don't remember that. Mm-mm.
Well, so yeah, you wake up, you do aerobics, you go to school. Once school's done, what do you do?
Um, I actually can't remember the rest. I remember riding horses a lot.
Okay.
I remember, cleaning them and, brushing them and saddling them. I remember exactly how they taught us to saddle them. And I just remember doing that a lot. Um,
Was it structured like you after school you would have to like go do that, or you go have free time, then dinner, and then like
yeah, I don't remember that. Remember, it feels like I remember a bell for dinner time,
okay.
like a big bell, but I might be wrong. I don't
Okay.
remember.
And
And
then
I
after,
don't,
do you remember after dinner?
um, I just remember there's chores. Like I remember milking cows, like going to this
Okay.
little like barn like thing and milking the cows, and that was pretty interesting. And I can't remember the rest of that
That's
of the
okay.
day.
I'm
No,
just trying to paint a picture of how it was like back
we
then.
did a lot of hiking. Like Mac, I remember Mac, and Mac used to take us to all kinds of places. Hiking and when it was freezing, we did things like it was like a polar bear club. Like he would crack the ice and everybody would jump in the water. Um,
Oh,
and yeah, I don't remember a typical day.
okay, that's fine. I feel like I got to paint a picture as best as we can.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. So you didn't have a level system. Did you have the point system where you would lose point? I guess you wouldn't have that either because you're not on a level system.
Yeah, if they had, I don't remember that either. I remember all of us going on the camping trips and and doing all the fun stuff. I don't remember just certain people doing it.
No, I meant like you didn't have the level system, so you wouldn't have had the point system, which would be like
Right.
if you lose points, you would go down in levels and such.
Yeah, I don't remember that part.
Okay. Did you have the farm there back then?
Yeah, definitely had the
Okay,
farm.
had the farm. Well, did you have to work on the farm at all, or was it just school?
Well, like milking the cows and feeding the animals, the horses, and I remember there being dogs there,
Okay.
and
Was
there
it
was a
was it
there was a there was a donkey there, and his hooves were like tilted up, or like he hadn't had his hooves clipped for a long time. I
okay?
remember that. Um,
Was
but
it were the animals being treated fairly? Did you witness any animal abuse while you were there?
no, not really. No, no animal
Okay.
abuse that I know of. I
Okay.
mean, somebody caught the barn on fire once, and everybody went to go put it out. So I remember that, but no animal abuse.
What was your impression when you first got there about the other students who were there? What was that like for you?
Oh, they were terrible. They were so freaking mean to me. I'll never forget. I'll never forget this one chick. She took my toothbrush and she stuck it in her crotch. I'm not even kidding. And then some of them would like, I don't know if I remember somebody bending down and queefing, like you know what that is? Yeah, you do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Just they were really mean. And I remember having to fight a lot.
So there, it was tough. It was a tough
It was
place.
super tough. Yes, very tough. And just you know,
Do you feel like a lot of the students who were there were kind of wardens of the state, or they were there because of their parents, or they were there
they were pretty hardcore people, I would
like
say.
like a lot of gang members?
Yeah, I think so. Looking back at the picture that I have, a lot of them do look kind of like gang members. And just kind of drifters or like drug addicts. Um, people that are pretty screwed up.
Did you have therapy when you were there?
So that's the thing. I had a lady, I think her name was Phyllis, and it might have been Brunel's wife. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I remember vaguely talking to Phyllis, but I don't.
Do you think the therapy was up to par?
Oh no.
Did you
No.
feel like you couldn't really talk to them, like you get in trouble, or like it was
Yeah,
almost controlling and you had to just kind of keep your tail between your legs to get through it?
just trying to make it through it. Trying to. I don't remember getting anything out of the therapy or anything like that. So I went in there screwed up. I left there even more screwed up, and yeah, it was pretty.
Was there an isolation room when you were there?
So that's the thing. I never remember like an isolation room. I don't remember it. I mean, if there was one, I don't remember it. And maybe that happened after.
So let me change that. Was there a place where the bad kids, or a place where you were like the ones that weren't listening would have to do, or what was it like for the kids that were in trouble?
They got restrained. I got physically restrained several times.
And can you
And
explain the restraints and how were they
just
bloody? Were they brutal? Were they aggressive?
very aggressive, very brutal. And I remember being in the bedroom or whatever, and just 2 or 3 people coming at me and they're restraining me. And just I remember fighting and it being, really painful, and them slamming me on the ground and it being really scary. Like,
Did you ever
like
bleed from it?
I don't remember bleeding or anything, no. Or
Oh, we're frozen again. Hopefully I'll snap back in a sec.
no. Oh, are you frozen?
Yeah, we're good now.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I remember having to walk a lot. Like they took me away from the camp and dropped me off, and then follow me back to camp. 10-mile walks in the hot sun. I remember that vividly. And I used to get migraine headaches from the heat, and so and they would, when I got migraine headaches, I got sick to my stomach. I mean, it was bad. And
Okay.
I remember having to walk in the heat a lot. 10 miles for smoking or huffing gas.
Yeah, I was just discussing with someone else in a different episode about the huffing gas, which
Yeah,
which I can understand is not an easy thing to talk about, because even myself, I feel really embarrassed of the fact and ashamed that that's something that I did. It's not something I'm to be proud of, kind of thing, you know? So
I
yeah, I did that too, and it definitely, I think, left some brain damage, or to say the least.
yeah, yeah, not good. No, kills all your brain cells. I mean, and I don't think I ever did anything like that before, and I know I didn't.
Oh
I
no,
mean,
you probably would never have done that if you didn't go to
yeah,
somewhere like
and,
that.
and
So
I
did you
didn't think.
hear know what a Mormon was before you went here?
I just knew a Mormon had many wives. That's my understanding of a
Like
Mormon.
polygamous.
Yeah, yeah. So
That's
that's
it.
all I knew about Mormons. And
You're like, they must be chill. They have so many wives.
yeah, I'm like, interesting. But yeah, no, I don't really. Yeah, didn't know
Okay.
much about Mormons except that. Yeah.
So yeah, so were they sending people out into the fence in front and in the back of the lodge at that time as well?
So I don't remember that at all. I just remember if you didn't do what you're supposed to do, they would restrain you. Um, and then the 10-mile hike thing, I don't remember any other like.
You remember people sitting in those little like baby cow houses?
I don't remember
No?
that.
Okay.
No.
Because I didn't have that either in mind, but some people from the early 90s had
Uh,
that, where there would be like, you walk into at the back of the lodge where you look out the window, you see the mountains. On that side of the lodge, there would be like a fence made out of like trees, and then like barbed wire, or not barbed wire, but wires or something, or some shitty fence. And that's where they would make the kids just sit there all day long. If they got up, they would run out there and restrain them and make them sit there all day.
Yikes. Yeah, I don't remember it. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but just some of the things that I do remember, that wasn't one of them.
Okay.
Also remembering through, a 13-year-old's, point of view too. So
Exactly. It's hard to remember everything. I just
yeah,
really want to hear how it was there, and especially how abusive, because in my impressions, the earlier you go back, the more abusive and the more stuff they got away with.
Right.
Like, I don't know if you heard our last podcast or the second episode with Adam, and he was explaining about people doing the workouts in the gym and them getting restrained and beating the shit out of some of the kids and blood getting all over the walls.
Wow. Yeah, I've been listening to all of them. They're quite interesting. Anytime anything comes up on Sorensons Ranch, it's got my attention for some reason. It still draws me in, and I'm like, what the heck, you know?
So did you witness any kind of abuse at this place?
I would say it's abusive the way they restrained us, and the way they made us hike the 10 miles, and you know, just really not having any, I don't know, like anybody that cared about you, really. I mean, just as a child, you know, not really feeling like somebody's got your back.
Did you feel like it was a place that helped kids?
Oh, no. I mean, my mom was desperate or whatever, but yeah, I think it was a pretty bad idea to send me there.
Do you think your parents were maybe tricked into it being a very great place for kids?
I think that they had to find somewhere that would take me, that would kidnap me, or it wasn't going to happen. So that was the only place that would do it. And so I don't know that they were tricked. I don't know that they cared at the time. I think they were just like, let's do something and let's do it quick. And so
they obviously cared because it cost money to send you there. So they obviously care to some degree, where they don't want you to be living in the streets. They'd rather pay money to have you living in a place that's going to traumatize you for the rest of your life.
That's true. Yep.
So it's very weird. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
So, man, it's really hard to ask questions because it's so different back then.
Okay. So, well, I can tell you a few things that
yeah, please do.
We did while we were there. Like some fun things that we did. So some of the fun things, we went to Lake Powell. I remember going there more than once. And I remember us taking a boat, and then we would go to these rocks, these cliffs, and that's where we would sleep. We would sleep on the rocks. And it was just like in the middle of nowhere, and it was absolutely beautiful. And we got to water ski. I learned to water ski, and then we did the inner tube stuff, and it was a really, really fun time.
Yeah, it's like an escape from the hell for a moment.
Yeah, like I have really fond memories of Lake Powell.
How many people would be on those trips with you? Do you remember?
Probably 20.
So pretty much anyone could go on it. Like kids that would get in trouble even would get to go on it.
Well, see, I think that everybody went on it, but maybe there were some kids they held back. I can't remember.
How many kids were there when you were there, roughly?
So I'm going to say roughly, I mean, if I was looking at this picture that I have, there was about 20 or 30 kids.
That's it? Just 20, 30 kids?
Yep. That's what I wrote. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. And it was pretty small. And other cool things I know that I did when I was there is we would go horseback riding to these cabins in the middle of nowhere, and we would go camping there. And I don't know if you guys ever did that.
I didn't really do much, and I don't remember much, to be honest, either.
Oh man.
I had the first episode, Buddy told me about going on Lake Powell trip with him. I'm like, I don't even remember that.
Yeah, it was.
But also to add to that, I also realized and talked to someone else after that on an episode that I haven't put out yet, that I did get a concussion really earlier than that, and they didn't treat it, and I didn't have any medical attention. And that's why I didn't remember Lake Powell, because the whole time I was at Lake Powell, I was sleeping in the tent with my sleeping bag, and I was having huge headaches, and I was having a lot of crazy dreams, I remember. And that's why it was very vivid for me, because I remember having these weird dreams about me sleeping in a sleeping bag made out of sand, but I was actually sleeping on the sand in a sleeping bag while everyone was out having fun. I don't even really remember it because I got a concussion and they didn't do anything about it.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely didn't get much love
but I definitely hated being there, to the point where I didn't want to be around the horses. I didn't like them. They scared the shit out of me. I didn't like being around the staff members there, so I would never go on a camping trip with any of them. I was just that wasn't something I would have enjoyed back then, you know? So to me, I was just faking it till I make it, till I can get the F out of there.
Right. And you didn't have to stay too long, right? Like a year? That's still a long time.
Yeah, 13 months.
Yeah, that's a long time for a kid. Yeah.
Yeah, could be
Yeah.
worse, but yeah, it was traumatizing.
No, I'm sure it was. Yeah. Other things that I wanted to, let's see, that I thought about is I wrote a few things down that I was trying to remember. I don't remember. I
That's
thought I
okay.
was down, but yeah.
Okay, so well, you said some nice things, and that's great to hear that things. But I think what's really most interesting would be the hard and the things that are traumatizing and difficult for you to talk about or listen
I would say that
or remember.
I would say the most traumatizing part was really dealing with some of the kids there, the girls, and then, you know, I remember, vaguely with the boys too, and just, I don't know, just kind of doing whatever, and um, not not feeling like you have a ton of supervision either. Um,
Did you feel like the staff were qualified? Did they ever use any derogatory terms on you or?
yeah, I don't remember anything like that. I just don't remember feeling, you know, I don't know. I felt like it. I don't know how to explain it.
But you're just saying that you felt like you didn't have a lot of supervision,
Like
which
I didn't feel
is
safe.
which is crazy. I mean, you guys are all teens living in the middle of nowhere together. What was that like? Like what was going on? Why was it no supervision? What was going on behind closed doors?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I vaguely remember being alone with people, and I can't really remember, but I just remember just not feeling really comfortable or safe.
What would you say would be like the top three worst experiences of being there?
The top three worst was
Yeah.
was the abandonment, at the survival course. That was really hard on me, and
Okay.
um, just the fact that I was told that I wasn't going to leave there until I was 18, and I was only 15, or 13 when I went in and 15 when I left, and
So
feeling that
just the
just
abandonment and then being told that you're going to be stuck in this institution,
forever.
weird place.
Yeah, forever, pretty much. I mean, 18, yeah, until I'm an adult, which was not okay. And
Feels like an eternity at that age.
oh yeah, and then just the other worst part would be the restraining and the them, making us walk in the hot sun and stuff like that. That was,
Can you walk us through what a restraint would be and why someone would get restrained in the first place?
see, I don't even remember why I was restrained. Maybe I didn't want to go and do the aerobics, or maybe I didn't want to go do my chores, or maybe I don't remember. But
So their tactic pretty much was
they
mostly
would,
restraints at that point. It was mostly if you don't want to do something, we'll restrain you. And then in their eyes, once they restrain you and beat the shit out of you, you're going to be able to go do that task that they wanted you to do.
yep, you're
And that
gonna,
would usually go, and it would go in their favor most of the time. You beat
oh
them
yeah,
up, and then you go do their thing.
yep, yeah.
What happens if they restrain you? They beat you up, and then you don't go do that thing. They restrain you
Well,
again.
well, I can't imagine that, because it's like after that happens, I mean, practically you're like, practically crying for your mother at that point, even though you don't even like your mom at this point. I mean, you're scared,
So
these
how exactly,
adults
in detail, explain what the restraint is? What do they do to you?
grabbing you by your wrist, throwing you down, slamming you, like pushing you down on the ground, and just like your face smashed to the ground, and just kind of scary. And they're adults and men, and just
How many people would be restraining you? Just one person?
probably two or three.
Okay, so you have three grown ass men that are huge men, some overweight, like you were saying, that
Yep,
are taking down a 13-year-old girl who weighs probably 100 pounds.
probably. Yeah, I was little. Yeah, but that was probably some of the worst things that happened.
So there'd be three men throwing you down to the ground.
Two or three. I don't really
Okay.
remember. I just remember it being pretty horrifying.
And it was aggressive. It wasn't very,
It was very
it
aggressive.
wasn't like they were just trying to get you to stop freaking out or something. They were doing it to hurt you.
I don't I don't know if they were doing it to hurt me. Maybe they were doing it to get me to be scared of them, so I would do what they wanted me to do,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, kind of. I'm just trying to think about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. I mean, so I tell my story at Celebrate Recovery, and that's like the part that I really start on is my time at Sorensons Ranch and my life, you know.
What would you tell them for when you talk about it?
Oh, I told them about the pickup and how terrifying that was. I told them about the survival course and how, you know, how sad that was, and just about the escape when I finally escaped from there.
Okay, that's what I want to hear. Let's hear the escape.
Okay, so that's really cool. So after I'd been there for a couple of years and I wasn't going anywhere, they weren't going to let me out, and I knew that I was going to be there for the long haul. Me and two other girls, we crawled out. I don't remember if we went out the front door or whatever. Maybe we went out a window. And I remember crawling through a field, and I remember making it to the highway, and I remember hitchhiking, and I remember May trucking. It feels like the truck was May trucking that picked us up, and they took us, and then every city or every state that we went to, right, they would get on their little CBs or walkie-talkies, and they would say, hey, I have 3 girls, they're going this way, is there anybody that can take them? And so they like communicated with the other truck drivers, and so they would kind of pass us off to each truck driver. And so, and we did this, and we went a long ways from home. I feel like it went on for a couple weeks, like that. And then we headed back to Oregon.
Wow.
And I remember,
So you, how did you get to the first truck? Remember?
hitchhiking. Just
hitchhike from
made it to the freeway, wherever the freeway was. And it wasn't like a pre-set up thing. It was like, we're going to run and we're going to get the hell out of here. And
you had an advantage because they didn't know you were missing yet. And you were kind of like, lucky they didn't inform the surrounding police and everything.
So we must have snuck out a window or something. And I've just recently talked to one of the girls that I was with, and she remembered, she said, I ran away with Brooke and Jody. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that was me. So I remember that. And she says that we made it all the way to Maine. I don't remember going to Maine, but I remember.
That's way east, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it was a long ways away. I remember that.
That's not far from where I grew up in Montreal.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I believe so. Maine, like with Funland or something there, Funtown.
I'm not really sure. All I know is that we did a lot of hitchhiking, and we did all the hitchhiking with the truck drivers. And I remember showering at the truck stops.
So you were just kept going and going because you didn't have a destination?
Yeah, I didn't know where to go and didn't really have a destination. And
what did you tell these truck drivers that was going on?
So I don't remember that part, but I do remember them smoking pot with us. And I remember smoking pot, and next thing you know, I was out. I mean, completely out. And I remember, I don't know, the next thing I knew, we were like going over the Oregon border, and people were like, wake up, Brooke, we're going over, we're in Oregon or something. And that's, I don't know, it was weird. Like I blacked out. Who knows how long I've been out. But of course, you know, smoking marijuana wasn't something that I'd really been doing. So
you didn't do that before you went there.
I didn't do
really young.
Yeah, I did not do marijuana.
You ran away because you're coming from an abusive place, and then you got sent to another abusive place.
Yep.
And then now you're on your own, and you learned all these new tricks from all this from the Sorensons about drugs and everything, and now you're more fucked up than you were before.
Learned how to inhale cigarettes. I never inhaled cigarettes before that. I mean, I drank alcohol like a fish, or enough it made me sick and black out. But yeah, I didn't even really smoke before that. So
that's wild. So then what happened? So you're in Oregon.
So then we're in Oregon, and we went to my mom's house. Well, apparently the phone was tapped, and so every phone call I made, and I was talking to my brother. My brother was
back in the 1980s. The phones were tapped.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, they knew every move that we were making. They knew every city that we were in, because every time I made a phone call there, they knew. Like we were considered missing persons. Okay. And so, yeah. So they knew every single move. Yeah, they were recording our phone calls or something. But what I do remember is, you know, my brother was acting like he was my friend and he was on my side, and you know, okay, well, I'm coming, you know. And I remember getting there, and just within minutes of walking in the front door, bam, the cops came in, and we didn't even get anything to eat. We were all starving to death. And I remember It was just a matter of minutes before we
And
were
that was
back
in
in our police
Oregon?
car. Yeah. And we were back
Okay.
we went to, it was called Skipworth Juvenile Detention Center. It's no longer called Skipworth, but we got sent to Skipworth. And then it was at that point that my uncle, who actually had custody of me at the time, said, you know what, let her go. Let's just, release,
Oh wow.
let her,
So
let her go.
he was able to do that, like get you out of there.
Yeah, he was in charge of me. I mean, and I think he was going to give whatever.
So did you like tell him it was abusive and how it was like there, or did you just tell him, or
I
did
don't
he?
remember telling him anything, but I just remember them probably thinking, well, if she's going to go to this length to get out of there, you better just let her go.
Yeah.
And so,
Because you're better off being ran away 80 kilometers from home than 3,000.
exactly. And back then there was serial killers out and stuff like that. So I'm surprised I
Yeah.
made it through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so many back in the 80s. There's
Yeah.
documentaries coming out left, right, and center.
Yeah. So I definitely had an angel. I think we all had an angel.
So
the
you finally got out of there.
The other two girls I was with got sent back to Utah. And so,
Okay.
and I'm sure they had some pretty severe consequences. And so,
So that was after 2 years of you being there. Then.
Yep, after 2 years of me being there. And
so what? Go on.
It's kind of a black spot. Like I really I want to know, hey, I remember you from that, or hey, we were friends, or I remember you, or I don't know. I just kind of want, like, it's like a blank spot in my life. And, I just feel like there's a lot of stuff missing. And so,
well, what do you feel like would be the most traumatic experience of being at Sorensons Ranch?
just, just being so young and being, feeling like nobody loved me and nobody cared about me, and just the abandonment.
Did you feel abandoned?
Oh yeah.
Do you feel like you still have some trauma and some abandonment issues after 37 years from this place?
Well, I did a lot of work at Celebrate Recovery, which I'm a ministry leader on. We worked the 12 steps. Like, so I did NA for a while, I did AA for a while, and I struggled with a pretty serious drug addiction. Still dealing with the hurts and hangups from, my childhood, being sexually assaulted by somebody that I thought loved me.
Do you still feel like Sorensons Ranch has left an impact with some trauma and some abandonment issues?
Yep.
So is it something you would say you're still working on today from 37 years ago?
Yeah, I would say a little bit. Yeah. I finally, working with Celebrate Recovery at my church, I finally, for some reason, it dawned on me, well, why didn't I turn this guy in? So I finally turned in the person that sexually assaulted me, because, nobody protected me as a child. And then it just finally, it was like I was doing.
You said this guy was supposed to be your dad?
Yeah.
He wasn't your dad, though? No,
he was my mom's boyfriend for a long time.
Okay.
And so, and I felt like they kind of sent me off, to keep a dirty little secret. So, like,
That's why you got sent to Sorensons Ranch, you think?
That's what I was thinking, like, oh, okay, so I told my mom this happened to me, but I still didn't get protected, and now they're sending me away, and now it's like a secret and nobody knows. And yeah, so I dealt with a lot of trauma. And
so two things. I want to hear about the story behind that, about you turning this guy in.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd like to hear a little bit about drawing a blank. I just had it. So yeah, start with that, and I'll think if the other one comes to me.
Okay. So
oh yeah, the drug addiction part I want to hear about.
Oh yeah, okay, cool. Turning the guy in. So I was working, the steps, and I was on the 4th step and talking about people that have harmed me or whatever. And it was like, it just all of a sudden hit me. It was like, I can turn this guy in. He, even though it'd been like, whatever, 35 years or whatever.
So this was 2 years ago, or like 5 years ago.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So this has been a very traumatic experience for you. Sorensons has definitely fucked you up for a long time.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Okay. I just want to make that really clear to the people who are listening, because I feel like that's a really important point,
Yeah. And
that's the whole point of this.
Oh yeah. Just the abuse I got from the girls. I mean, they were so freaking mean to me. And I was the youngest person there. I mean, I was only 13, and everybody else that was older. And I was like a little girl that had been sexually assaulted and scared and pissed off at the world. And yeah, and then I was sitting there, and all these people were so mean to me, and they were all drug addicts. They were further along in life, and I don't know. It was weird. Anyways, so I went down to the sheriff's office. I made the report, right, and they're like, yeah, there's like a statute of limitations kind of thing. And I was like, really? I'm like, what if he's doing it to somebody else? And it's weird that it didn't dawn on me to do that all these years. And it's probably because I already told somebody and nothing happened. But then, I was a child, and I knew, it didn't go any further than that. And my mom, she loved the man. And so that's, it was really sad. Anyways, so I do know that he died like within 6 months of me reporting him. He had a really bad death, like a really serious one, like a major heart attack, but there was a stroke involved. I mean, it was bad. And so it's pretty weird that he died like right after I reported him. I don't know.
No, I think that probably is a tough thing, because you probably feel so glad to know that he died, but you're also like, that's a sad and mean thing to say. So I mean,
yeah, it is a very sad and mean thing to say. So I no longer hold a resentment. My mom, I love her to death. My mom is, my mom was battling her own addiction, at the time. And so my mom, I love her. So, I mean, she's
good. So your relationship with your mom is good
so
now.
I've grown to be, it's been completely restored. Yeah. She's awesome. So, okay. So that was about the turning the man in. And now he's dead.
That's a crazy story though. His
name was Adam
insane.
Jones. Yeah.
Adam Jones. So,
yeah.
Maybe he's related to Alex Jones.
Yeah, he lived in Portland, Oregon. So I don't know, but he's dead now. So
crazy. Well,
it is crazy.
Thank you for sharing that one. That's a tense one.
Yeah. And then when I left Sorensons and I was released, right? I'll just tell you about that part, because that's,
pertains with the addiction part.
Yeah. So I started using meth right after that. At 15, and my mom let me stay with her for a minute at 15, and I, the first thing I did was ripped her off. I hated her pretty much because of what happened to me as a child. And so I immediately, I just thought I was probably the toughest, person in the world. I thought I was a badass. And so, I mean, I wanted to fight anybody or everybody. And I was unstoppable as far as I was concerned. And I mean, that was all in my head.
That's because of Sorensons kind of disciplined you so much.
Oh, they made me very tough.
But along with all that toughness, it comes along trauma and a lot of pain and a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah. Yep. And I carried that pain for, I don't know, 30 some years. I mean.
Well, when did you start doing drugs?
At 15.
Immediately as soon as you left?
Immediately started using drugs. Yep. I started.
So it's safe to say that this place was the worst thing that ever could happen to you, was sending to this place, because now you're way further deep into the place you shouldn't have been in.
Yeah. By the time I was 18, I was, hold on. Let me go back. Between 15 and 18, like after I ripped my mom off, right?
How did you rip her off? Like you stole money from her?
I sold her jewelry and I sold it for drugs. Okay. And so between 15 and 18, they made me a ward of the court. So they gave me to the state and I became a ward of the court. And so
what's that?
They said basically I was a danger to myself and society. And so they made me a ward of the court. So the state had custody of me. My mom no longer had custody and the state had custody.
Interesting.
So between 15 and 18, I moved from treatment center to treatment center to treatment center.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So I went to Ashland Adolescent Center in Ashland. I was there for a year. I went to a place in Roseburg. I mean, I went to a Sacred Heart Adolescent Recovery Program. Wow. I did like a bunch of treatment centers.
So Sorensons was like the beginning. And
the beginning, yes. Yeah. And
what would you say compares Sorensons to these other places? Would you say?
Nothing. Nothing. I mean, Sorensons was by far way worse than any of these places. These other places, there was people that loved you and cared for you and, really wanted to get to the bottom of your problems.
They were real places.
Yeah, they were real. And so, yeah. And so between 15 and 18, that's what happened. I got out of there, and they, I got my GED when I was 18, and then I know, but I should have got some more education. But anyways, then I was no longer a ward of the court. I was an adult, and the first thing I did was get pregnant, and I was strung out on meth and pregnant at 18. And so, yeah.
This must have been like 93, something like that.
Let's see, if I got out in 86 and I was 15, so I don't know.
89 maybe?
86, I was 15, 16, 17.
Well, roughly.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, 90, around 90. Okay, and so, yeah, and then I became a drug dealer, and I
became a drug dealer?
Oh, yeah. Crazy.
Where were you living at the time? This is back at
Eugene and surrounding areas. I was selling drugs. In Oregon. Yep, selling drugs and just living a really, really unstable lifestyle. I got into like a really bad domestic violence relationship to where this guy. Hold on one second. My dog is scratching at the door. Can you hold on for 1 second?
Yeah, for sure. Get that little pooch. Wow, this is a crazy story.
Come here. This is my dog.
Get him? What's up, buddy?
Yeah. Anyways,
all right, let her tell the story, Poochie Poo.
Let's see here.
So yeah, you're a badass drug dealer. And then
yeah, I'm a badass drug dealer. And my life is really unstable. I got into a domestic violence relationship. And you know how when I was a child, like nobody loved me, nobody cared for me, and nobody took care of me. And so I was with this older guy that had me convinced that he loved me and he would be the only person that loved me. And he used to beat the crap out of me. And so this went on for a long time. I was also, he had me strung out on meth, and it was bad. And I lost custody of my kid. He went to Department of Human Services.
So you already had a kid at this point?
Yeah, when I was 18, I had my first kid.
With this
I waited
guy?
10 years. No, not with this guy. This guy was just the beater. Like, he used to beat me up.
Just the drug dealer boyfriend.
Yes. Yep. And so my life was really messed up. And I had one kid at 18. Then I waited 10 more years and had another kid by another guy 10 years later when I was 20.
Hopefully was not abusive to you.
He was also a drug addict. And so, yeah, my life was crazy from the time that I was let's say 16 all the way to 37. So
wow.
So my life was insane. And so I finally got my stuff together at 37. And
let's go back to 1990. This guy, abusive relationship.
Yeah.
How did you get out of that? What happened there?
So what happened there is DHS got involved. That's Department of Human Services got involved in my life, and they put me in like they put me like I mean, the domestic violence was really bad. I mean, my son had to crawl through a doggy door to go to the neighbor's house to call 911 because he was choking me to death. And I mean, it was pretty serious. And so my kids, my two older kids, they went through a lot. I put them in some pretty unsafe situations. I was a terrible parent. And so, I have to, I had to process all that too. So how I got out of that was I went to, there's a halfway house for people that get out of prison, but for some reason they let me go there. And it's for women, it's called Sponsors. And I went there and stayed, and I got all kinds of therapy. I mean, it took me a long time for them to convince me that this guy did not love me. And so, I was literally, I was addicted to him, and it was bad. So went through a lot of counseling and stuff to get through that. And then I got through it. And so, yeah. And then I haven't been in a domestic violence relationship since.
And that's the 1991.
Yeah. Thinking back to my mother, the guy that sexually assaulted me used to beat the crap out of my mother. And so
your mother,
the guy that abused me used to beat the crap out of my mother. And so it was, don't cry.
Wow, that's That's sad, and that's hard to hear. I mean, what a piece of shit this guy must have been.
Total piece of crap. Yep. And yeah. So now, what do you want? Oh, this is my Lucy. Come here.
She's like, I want attention. I want to tell my story. I found a stick, and it was like all cool and stuff, and then I chased a squirrel.
Oh yeah, she lives chasing balls. She's a boxer.
Just like you, I guess, eh?
Yeah, boxer, yeah.
So yeah, you got rid of this piece of POS guy who's beating you up, beating your mother up. You're staying at a battered women's shelter kind of place. You're starting to come around to that this person is toxic and not good for you. What happens next?
What happens next is I went through as an adult. I ended up going through treatment probably 4 times, and there were inpatient treatments. So
for
probably,
drugs?
Yep, for drugs.
For meth still?
Meth, yeah.
Meth and whatever else you get your hands on, kind of thing.
Mostly meth and alcohol.
Okay.
I mean,
okay.
I was, I did anything I could to like cover the pain.
It's a deadly combination. Childhood. It's a deadly combination.
And so I always had like a half gallon of I was gonna say tequila. I used to have a half gallon of tequila in my hand at all times.
Because that would probably, because you probably get so strung out and wired from the meth that the alcohol will put you back to sleep, so you can at least get a little bit of rest.
Level.
Yeah.
Yep, a little bit of levelness, even though I was crazy.
So you went from treatment center to treatment center.
Mm-hmm. And then I would like have open and closed child welfare cases, and that's with my two boys that I had. And then when I was 37, I had my third boy.
When did you have the second boy? You had one in the before 1990.
I had one when I was in 1990, and then the other one,
10 years later.
2000. Yep, 10 years later.
Okay, so now we jumped 10 years already.
Yep.
Okay, so 1990. It took probably a few years to get to the point where you can get rid of this guy that's beating you up. So probably maybe 95.
5 years of this bad relationship.
Okay, so it's 95, and then you're jumping from institution to institution, and then it's 2000, and then you finally have another kid.
Yep.
And you're still strung out going through your struggles.
Yep.
Okay, I just wanted to feel where this is going.
And then let's see here. Connor is 14. So when I got pregnant with Connor, the state actually said, okay, we're going to terminate your rights. You can no longer be a parent. And because I couldn't stop using meth. I mean,
you kept getting in trouble. Or
it was like my best friend. It was the only person that loved me. I mean, it was my thing. I couldn't imagine life.
You're so deep. You're so deep into it. It's been maybe almost over 10 years you've been doing this stuff.
Yeah. And so
that's a lot of abuse and going through your brain from the drugs, a lot of dead brain cells, and a lot of the addiction only gets worse the more you do it,
Oh yeah. Yep. And to think that I survived and I have no medical issues and I'm healthy, I have all my teeth, that's a miracle.
I was gonna say, as soon as I never met you before, so as soon as you came on the camera, I was like, I can't believe that you're almost 50. And I can't believe now, after hearing all the struggles you went through, how good you look. You can't really tell. I think the recovery definitely did you well, and I think it you can't even tell, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. And so when I had my last kid and they said, we're going to terminate your rights, I was like, that just like was a really big punch in the face, because they're the only things I really love is my children. And so, and there was only 2 at the home at the time. The other one was already an adult. So
were you able to kick this drug habit because their kids were taken away?
I walked away from my apartment. I mean, I left everything in my apartment. I just walked away. They said, we have a bed at I'm at Family Treatment Center for you. And I'm like, I'm coming. And so I walked away from my apartment. I left it all sitting there and just left. And I didn't look back. And I went into the treatment center. And that's where I had like a spiritual awakening. Was
there other girls around that kind of inspired you?
Oh yeah,
because you've been through institution first of all before you're 18, and then when you had your first kid of the abusive thing. So you've been through it all more than anybody.
Yep.
So what
And
was
so,
different with this place that helped you? Was it just because it
well,
was the right time?
it was the right time. It was the right time because I'd already been in there before. So it was almost like going home, going to the treatment center, because I'd already been there 3 times as an adult. And so they knew me really well. They cared about me and they loved me. And
So
all,
this is the place that helped you is somewhere you've been to already a few times.
yes, yep.
Sorry to cut you off, but I want to
Yeah.
really understand.
Yeah. So yeah, they loved on me, and I had a spiritual awakening, and I started getting on my knees every morning and praying to God and just really inviting him into my life. And somehow, some way, God removed like the need to get high. And so that finally was literally just taken from me. Like, I didn't think about getting loaded, not one time after that. I mean,
That's amazing.
that is amazing.
And
Yeah,
it's all through God.
all through God. Yes. Amen.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And like I'm not a big religious person or nothing, but to hear that makes me so happy, because if that's what it takes, fucking take it.
Take it. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And so that happened, and then my kids I had 2 kids that were young enough to be returned to me. So
Did you
Connor
ever think that it would be God that would save you?
No, because I didn't even know God. I mean, I didn't. My entire life, I felt alone. I mean, had I known there was a God, but there must have been somebody watching me because of all of the bad things I have been through, and somehow I didn't die. And I mean, I was in really bad situations with sawed-off shotguns, and just, I mean, really like been kidnapped.
Do you think maybe because you've been abused and been through the ringer so many times that you finally found God because you needed that? Like, it was so important, and there was no one else around, family, nothing, no one, therapy, nothing. No one's gonna help you but yourself.
Yep.
And it's almost like you're manifesting this kind of whole thing in a way.
Yep. Yeah. And so
the mind is the most powerful thing you have.
Yep. Oh, I agree. And so I turned my life around, and I immediately went to work, and I found a really great husband. And my husband, he loves God, and that's the center of our relationship. And he took me to the first church I've ever been to. I got baptized. We had a daughter together, and she's 10 now, and absolutely beautiful. And
I love this story.
Yeah, no, it's God saved my life. I mean, do
you feel like you had a chance to kind of start your life over? Like, do you feel you kind of like you just like almost like you cut your life off right where it went wrong, like maybe when you were 6, and then you just started over again at 35?
Yep. Yes.
Does that make sense?
I'm still learning how to be like, a good human being. I mean, I've had 14 years to learn how to be a good mom. I mean, yeah, I messed up on my first 2 kids, but one of them is starting out on drugs, and the other one is 30, and he was a heroin addict, and he has 3 years sober now, and he's a single father with his 2 children, full custody, and muscle, like a bodybuilder, really handsome kid. And I mean, his life is good. I mean,
but they've struggled with addiction.
Oh yeah.
And did you feel like
the other
did you
one,
feel like, oh hey, I'm gonna send you to Sorensons Ranch? Did you feel that?
Oh no.
Did you feel like,
I don't know. I don't know.
Did you feel like you had the experience and the ableness to be able to talk to them and kind of coach them into the right directions and give them good advice and love them and kind of just try, and you kind of got to just maybe let them live it and learn their own lessons, as hard as it is?
Yep. I've just been using a lot of tough love with the one. I have one of them, he's 20, and he's got major issues. I mean, and until he gets through it, I mean, we can.
But that's such a young age, and what you went through, you would know more than anybody that there's a lot of deeper things in there besides what he's doing. So I think it's important for you to really use your experiences to help him.
Definitely. And the other thing I was going to say is, gosh, what was I going to say? It was,
I don't know.
I don't either.
But I want to hear the rest of the story. This is crazy. So you find God, and then everything went uphill from there, pretty
Yep.
much. Like that's
So, yeah.
that's almost like the perfect happy ending right there.
So my husband and I we're both ministry leaders at our church, and
You were saying that at the beginning of the podcast. I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
ties
So
into
he
that.
does the men, and I do the women, and then we have the ministry leader, which is he oversees the whole thing, and then it's our way of like giving back for all the the stuff that we've done in the past. We also we do things like we go and serve food to under the bridge. Under the bridge is where all the homeless people live, and
Oh,
there's like
wow.
a huge camp. So we
That's
go down there on
amazing.
Sundays and serve food to the homeless, trying to help trying to bring people to Christ, get them out of their addictions and stuff like that. And so we do stuff like that, and that's really cool. It's good for the soul. And
I feel like
oh,
if you're,
I got it.
yeah.
I got it. So the kids that I have living at home. So when we got married, he had a 2-year-old son, and then Connor was 2. My 14-year-old, he was 2 when we got married, and we ever since we got married, we've had our kids in Christian school since we've been married. So
Well, that's kind of your thing. You said that kind of what brought you together, right?
Yeah.
So,
hold on 1 second. Okay. 1 second.
Sure. All right, we're taking a break.
Scratching. I have a new bedroom door, so I don't want her to ruin it.
Oh,
Anyways,
no worries.
so yeah, so my kids have had a Christian education this entire time, and they're completely different kids. They're like Connor's 14, wouldn't even think of, I don't know, holding somebody's hand. I mean, and me at 14, I just can't imagine him living anything like what I had to live through. Different lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean,
amazing.
Just imagine if you didn't find God and you didn't find that place to escape from that addiction, I mean, just be so thankful for that, because
Yeah.
Everyone has their story, and I think that's so beautiful. And I think, do you think that because of Sorensons Ranch, it kind of made you felt like you lost some of your childhood and some of the years that you had to kind of make up for it, and it took you maybe 30 years to kind of mature and realize, like, hey, I need to move on, and if I need to do anything in life, I got to do it on my own. I need to put in the work. I need to,
Well, I think that if Sorensons Ranch really cared about me, they would have got to the bottom of the problem. Like, hey, this girl's been sexually assaulted. Let's do something about it.
Or what about the fact that if they really wanted to help you, or if it actually was a place to help people, why are you doing drugs as soon as you leave there?
Right. Exactly. I mean, in a lot of pain, still tons of pain.
Look, we already discussed it. It's already like, I know you've healed and you found God and all that, and I think that's amazing, and I really admire that of you, and think that's great. But I still think for myself and how bad that place was, there's always going to be some trauma with that, some abandonment issues, some type of hurt, and that doesn't really go away so easily. I think the best way is being able to hear other people's stories and talking about it.
Yeah. No, I really, I've been enjoying the podcast. I mean, everybody has a different experience there. And so it's been really good to just hear, and other things that I've heard, this is something, after I left, I heard somebody bit Bernell Sorensen's ear off. Yeah. Yes. If they bit his ear off, they had to sew it back on. I'm pretty positive that happened.
He was so old when I was there. Apparently, he was like ready to die or something. Like, I have the worst memory, so I can't remember him. But I have an episode coming out soon where it's a story about him finally passing away, and then also another story of him driving his ATV into the ditch.
Oh yeah.
Like the canal or whatever.
Right.
It just makes me laugh, because I do think all the people that own that place should be put in jail, to be honest.
Right. I mean, I tried to run several times.
And with that being said, was there any sexual misconduct or sexual allegations or stories that you heard between students and staff members?
Ask me about the first phone call.
Sorry? Yeah, I just snapped us out of it, though. Do you see that? Okay, let's Give it 1 sec. It should be good.
Yeah, that was good. I want to go back to the first phone call.
Okay.
I remember telling my
First phone
mother.
call.
First phone call. So I remember angry and just telling, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you're a little frozen. I'm
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you
Hello?
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you
Okay.
now.
I remember telling her I was going to basically have sex with everybody there until I got pregnant. And then I was going to get out and burn her house down. And I remember that. And nobody told me what to say or what not to say, but I do remember that. Maybe you guys got those rules that you had about what to say and what not to say, probably from people like me. Right?
So I didn't hear. Did you see or witness or heard of any sexual misconduct when you were there for 2 years?
Not anything specific, no.
No. Do you
No.
think that's something that goes on there when you were there?
I think so. I think
Okay.
there was a lot of misconduct with the kids, the
And you think,
older boys and the
and you
girls.
and you would think it's safe to say that there was some abuse, there was some sexual misconduct, and yeah, those two
Yes.
specifically.
Yes.
Okay.
I remember. Yeah, I remember being uncomfortable at times, but I don't remember anything specific, but I do think there was definitely misconduct between
And I
the
think
students.
I think your thoughts and your opinions are valid. So I think it's important to just to know what you think. And if you think that's going on there, it's probably fucking going on there.
Yeah.
So any other stories that you can think of or anything you want to add to the podcast?
No, I'm really glad to be able to share my story, and hopefully somebody that was there during that time will get on and share their story, because it'd be kind of cool to hear their version of how they remember it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so happy to be able to have this opportunity to speak to somebody from 1984, 1986. I was born in 1986.
I know, that's so crazy. You're like yeah, it's crazy. You could be my kid almost.
Yeah, like I literally was born and you left there.
Right?
And then what is it, like maybe not a little under 20 years, boom, I'm there. Like maybe maybe 15 years later, I'm there.
You know, it was a shocker to finally to like see the page one day. I was scrolling on Facebook and all of a sudden I seen the page and I said, no way. Like I had never looked it up or anything. And then it just came across my Facebook, and it was
Do you ever like deep dive into it and then like read horror stories from other past students that have been there?
Yeah, I deep dived in. The second I seen it, when I scrolled through Facebook, I was in the middle of that page for I don't know how long. Maybe, I mean, I was constantly just like trying to read whatever I could, trying to find out, I don't know, whatever. I don't know what I was looking for, but
But you know that it was like there's something eating away at you inside in a way, and you kind of like you need that validation from this because a victim usually finds any excuse to kind of like say their issue isn't that big. We were discussing this earlier with someone else that they kept thinking like, oh, the trauma, the bullshit that I went there is not that bad. People find any excuse in the world to kind of throw away their problem or whatever, or think it's not as bad as somebody else's, which doesn't mean it's not bad.
Right.
You know, of course, there's way worse shit going on in the world, but I still think it's valid. I still think it's something to be discussed and something to shed light on, and it's something that after 37 years we need to talk and heal a little bit more.
Yeah, I'd say for weeks I was just completely absorbed into anything that was posted about Sorensons Ranch.
And do you feel like that happens? Do you think that happens like once every 10 years, something just like sparks in you, and you're like, oh my God, I need to find out more?
Well, it's only been since I've been living in this house that I ever came across the Sorensons Ranch thing. It's been the past few years. So it's just, it's kind of new.
So what is your opinion on the people who own the ranch, the Sorensons, the people that are running this place? What is your opinion on that?
So if you think back to when I was there, Burnell Sorensen and them, I think they're trying to change people's lives probably, but then they might have been there to help, but I'm sure things changed over time.
You felt they genuinely were trying to help people?
Well, like, I don't know, like Burnell Sorensen, I mean, he was an okay character.
Okay.
And I remember Phyllis. I vaguely remember her, but she was very sweet and kind. Now, the people that restrained me and stuff, Lee, he was pretty scary. And then there were a lot of people that were scary. So
But do you
there were
think
lots
they're
of people
good?
that worked there.
But do you think they're still good persons when you think about all the sexual misconduct and abuse that they sweep under the
Oh,
rug?
hell no.
So
Definitely
like
not. That's not
maybe
good.
like are you trying to say it's like they were bearable and you think like you were able to like enjoy their company for a second, but at the end of the day, they're the ones who own this place. They're sweeping things under the rug and are aware of this abuse. And they're obviously maybe not someone who should deserve to be taking people's and parents' money. And they should probably be either put in jail or
Nah, yeah, I agree with you. I don't think any kid should be sent there, especially without the parents checking it out. And
would you
I
send
believe,
your kids there?
no.
What would you say to anybody who's thinking about sending their kids there?
Go investigate it yourself. Go hang out there for a couple days. Be able to talk to more than one student. Really investigate it before you just let your child go there. I remember thinking to
Ask
my
the
mom,
hard
well,
questions.
why? Yeah.
Listen to our podcast. All right, sorry guys, we're back, and I want to apologize for all the lagging and blah blah blah. It's my fault. First of all, I'm not going to edit anything because I'm not computer savvy. Second of all, my internet's poopy, so you're gonna have to deal with it.
Mhm.
All right, so we're getting to the point where we're starting to wrap things up a bit, but I really did like the direction that we're going in. I always tell people we never really scratched the surface about Sorensons Ranch. We never scratched the surface of your story. And I feel like this is like a huge family that we're kind of growing into, knowing each other, and we all get the same. We all been through the same thing. So in a way, I want to do a follow-up episode, like a part number 2 with you, as well as every guest that's on here, pretty much. So with that,
Excellent.
so this is gonna be something that I want to continue to do all the time because first of all I love it, and it's like we've been discussing, it's very healing. So there'll definitely be a part number 2 for more stories. Doesn't mean we have to go the second. I'm just saying that's we're kind of wrapping it up because it has been about, I'd say about over an hour now.
Yeah, I would
I
say
think we
so.
started at 5, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost 2 hours now, which is like usually the time I usually think is a great length to kind of scratch the surface, sort of say, you know?
Yeah.
So with
I
that being said, is there anything you want to talk about or?
Well, I really appreciate being able to get on here and just share, nice to be able to talk about, my life there and, people that that have been there and done that and just that I can relate to. And
Did you say
what's
you had
really
a did you say you had a picture? I forgot to ask you earlier. You
yeah,
said you had a really cool
yeah, so
picture.
yeah, it's really
Oh,
cool.
but it's on the internet, so it's hard to show it, right?
Well, no, actually, I can try showing. I don't know. Maybe I can
Okay.
put it up to the camera.
Yeah, put it up, see if we can see it. If not, I'm gonna try and edit it in there somehow
That'd be really cool because
with my
anybody that
handy
was in that
computer
picture,
skills.
anybody that's in that picture, I would love to hear from them because wow, that would be cool. I mean, probably
And first of
like
all, this picture looks like something out of like a 19 like 80s or 70s like movie or something. Like it's got such an old school feel to it. I love that. I love that pic. Looks like almost
yeah,
like the cover of like, or not the cover, but like a scene from like some weird like ranch version of The Outsiders or something.
exactly. Okay, hold on a second. All right, I'm gonna see if you guys can see this. So
Yeah, you can see it a little bit, and I'm gonna try and put it on the screen somehow when I edit this. I've never done that yet, and I'm learning. That'll be cool.
we're all there, and man, I don't know what I'm wearing, but like I said, when I went to Sorensons Ranch, I had no clothes. I went there in my nightgown and robe, and then here's a picture of me, which is kind of cool.
That one's easier to see
Yeah.
because the other one it's hard to see the whole details.
Yep. So and no, I guess that's about it. I'm turning 50 in about a week or 2. I lost 50 pounds in the past 6 months. So right now in my life, I'm the healthiest I've ever been in my life.
That's
And
pretty. That's a
like my
lot
life
of
is
pounds, man.
that's a lot of pounds. That's a lot of pumpkins. No.
What do you do? Like, what kind of exercises do you do?
So that's the cool thing is I became a health coach, and I am, it's like this meal thing where I'm eating like 6 times a day, and basically bars and stuff like that. And I don't know, it's pretty exciting. So
You do like you go to the gym or?
not very much. I mean,
So it's
I've
just,
been to the gym a couple times, but
I see
for
some weights back there.
yeah, that's my husband's.
Oh,
He's
okay.
actually on the same meal plan as me.
So it's a meal plan that it's like healthy foods and
Yeah.
and you lose weight doing this. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely
So
should.
anyone wants to lose weight, look me up on Facebook and
I
check out my
think
pictures.
people should, because 50 pounds that's a lot of
Oh
pounds
my
right there.
gosh. I was 190. I'm 135 now
Wow.
in 6 months. So yeah, it's
That's
good.
crazy. I've been working out maybe for about 4 months now, and I can't tell a difference.
Yeah, my husband worked out and worked out and worked out, and he was not losing weight. I mean, I think he lost 10 or 15 pounds, but it's a lot of work to lose weight that way.
I think you found what works for you and what would work for a lot of other people too. You found a little something special there, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Well, you have a really great story. I feel like it's obviously really hard to remember all the way back in the night and back 30 years ago or
37.
It's insane.
Yeah.
But I really feel like you did get to paint as much of a picture as you could. I was kind of wanting to hear more blood, to be honest.
I know. I'm sorry. Not a lot of blood.
I feel like
there was a lot of sadness, a lot of abandonment.
Yeah, and that's internal pain that we live with every day. I mean,
yeah,
like we said, we're still trying to deal with the struggle and the trauma. So
yep. Well, super nice to meet you, Daryl. And I am looking forward to more of your podcast. I'll be watching. My sister's actually watching too, so she's pretty intrigued by it.
Sweet. I'm stoked to be able to for it to help anybody at all, or to just entertain anybody at all. I think it's great.
Yeah.
And I mean, for you to reach out and so many other people to reach out that wanted to join and tell their stories just validates the fact that I'm onto the right path, doing something good.
You are doing something good.
You know, some days I'll be like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. But then as soon as I sit down with the person, their stories are always so fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm shaking after every episode. And I'm like, and I'm like, oh my God. Like I'm like watching a show on Netflix that's so interesting that I can't wait for the next season to come on, but it's actually real stories. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Hey, and I gotta tell you something else really cool. Just the other day I was on the Sorensons Ranch page, and a girl from this area, she lives 5 miles away or something, went to Sorensons Ranch, and so we're gonna go have coffee.
Is she a lot younger?
Her name is Aspen.
Aspen. I think I saw her on the group. I think I might have chatted with her.
Yeah, I think you might be doing hers sometime, but
I might.
Yeah, she was there after me.
That is crazy. How old is she? What era?
So I think she might be younger than me, but yeah.
Still like maybe early 90s or something.
Oh wait, she's 47. That's how old she is.
Okay, wow.
And she was there. I thought she said 88 or something.
Yeah, I definitely want to get her on here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, cool. Make that happen for us.
Yeah, I'm gonna go have coffee with her and see, if I can bring any light into her life or whatever. So I'm excited about that.
Oh, I'm excited. Yeah, so many people to talk to, and it's not getting old yet. So I'm happy.
And so if people are still struggling with their pain and stuff from their past, or their Sorensons Ranch and stuff like that, they can go to Celebrate Recovery, and yeah. So I'm gonna invite her to that.
Yeah, do that and send me a link to anything you want me to maybe put in the description or something,
Awesome. All right, Daryl.
That's it? Nothing else? We're good?
Yeah. Thank you for the interview.
Thank you very much too for sharing all that. I know it's not easy. Even for me, I share certain things too, a part of my stories here and there, and it's not easy. So I understand it's not easy.
Yeah.
But it feels good. It helps, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, you take care. Thanks for coming out. Really appreciate your time. Yada, yada, yada. And we'll chat soon. I'll be in touch.
All right.
I'll do part number 2.
Bye.
do part number 2 soon. We're gonna hear some. Think of some more crazy stuff.
Oh, I'll try. It's been a long time.
All right. So
Bye,
we'll
Dara.
see you soon. Take care.
All right.
Oh, you guys are still here. Pretty amazing stuff there. Super sorry about the quality of the video. There was a lot of disconnections in the video because of my poor internet that I have here. But there's some great footage. I'm really glad to be able to interview Brooke. She's such a nice person, and I just love her story. I mean, after so long, it's kind of hard to remember all those things, and you kind of black out and or leave out and forget all the trauma as well, because you don't want to remember that. And there's just so much stuff going on at this little cult, whatever you want to call it, this little Mormon cult in Koosharem, Utah, the Sorensons Ranch school files. Like, what a crazy thing. Like, I've told you guys before, I'm not a big computer person, but no one else has seemed to shed any light on this particular institution. You know, the more I do this, the more I do research, and the more I look at other things online, I find a ton of things about other institutions. And there's not much on Sorenson's. It's either the fact that no one has done too much on it yet, or the fact that they love to sue and take out anybody that gets in their way. Like I read on the letters episode and said many times that they're just prone to just sue people left, right, and center, no matter what you do. Like 2007, they sued MySpace. Like, who the fuck? How can you sue MySpace? That's crazy. But they won in the end. They got the page taken down, and the page that was up was just a page called Survivors of Sorensons Ranch. But nowadays, with all these other things being shed to light, they don't really have that power, I don't think, anymore. And I'm hoping that it's just going to get worse and worse for them, because they don't deserve to be running a place like this. They don't deserve to be messing with people's lives and taking people's money and leaving people with trauma like myself and everyone else I've talked to and everyone else who has been there. I mean, they've done more damage than they've done good, that's for sure. Like, if they've done any good, it's in the minuscules. And all those people running that place, they should be sitting in a jail cell, or at least an isolation room like the one on Sorenson's Ranch, with their faces towards the wall. They can't move, they can't look, they can't lay down or nothing, and see how the fuck they like it. Because that's just not following any child laws and anything. So fuck those guys, and I hope they all burn in fucking hell, to be honest. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Hope you have a great week. We'll see you next week with a brand new episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good shit. And yeah, got lots more content for you guys. If anybody wants to do an interview, email me on the address below and we'll get you in. We'll do an interview. And yeah, everyone have a great week. We'll see you. Peace.